All right, we are on number 9. Lesson 10 review. Click on the period. I'm going to click on the period 8 one. I want you to click on the one with your name on it. The one with your name on it should be somewhere right here. Go ahead and click on the one with your name on it. I'm clicking on the period 8, which is the class notes. The one that says the period is always the class notes. All right, for those of you just getting in, I will paste that link to the assignment. There it is. So you can go ahead and grab that and get to this assignment here. This is kind of a review lesson. We're going to start with a little bit of Harry Potter, all right? In the chat, which Harry Potter are you? I'm feeling somewhere between a 3 and a 7, I think, today. Parts of me are all sorts of like, okay. And then other parts are like, ugh. In the chat, which kind of Harry Potter are you today? I'm a bit conflicted myself. Tajnique's a 1. Okay. Tajnique's cheery, feeling good. Ezekiel, I'm not sure. What would Ezekiel be? Ms. Asiato's a 1. Okay, we got 2 people who are pretty smiley today. Ezekiel in the chat. Which Harry Potter? Ezekiel's not talking to us today, apparently. Okay, well, all right. Let me move on to that next slide. Ezekiel, anytime you want, go ahead. Give us that Harry Potter. We got some learning targets. Four learning targets. All right, count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can find a linear regression from a table. All right, that's us looking at a table and getting that linear regression using our calculator. I can find the correlation coefficient. It's been a hot minute since we did the correlation coefficient, but we'll show you remind you how to do that. I can make a residual plot on a calculator and decide if the residual plot's telling me the model is a good fit or not, all right? And last but not least, I can find an exponential regression. 4 learning targets, mostly review. We should know most of these here. I'm clicking over to slide 4. We're going to have you do most of these, but let me just kind of get you warmed up with the first 2 and see how we do, all right? All right, about a year ago, Joey watched an online video of a band and noticed that it had been viewed only 843 times. 1 month later, Joey noticed that the band's video had 1,708 views. Joey made a table below to keep track of the cumulative number of views the video was getting online. So here was the start of this thing. This was month 0. When he started, it had 843 views. After 1 month, all right, month 1, we have 1,708 views. After month 2, there's a problem. He forgot to record. But then month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6, finally 62,381 views. We are going to use some of this data to try to make an estimate about where the total number of views might have been at the second month. All right. For step 1, we are going to write a regression equation that best models this data. Round all values to the nearest hundredth. We're going to justify our choice of regression equation. In other words, we're not going to put a missing line in our calculator. Okay, yes. If we put this data in our calculator, and if you try to put in 2 without any data in your list, your calculator is going to have a conniption fit. It's going to say, wait a minute, I can't run a regression with missing data. You can't give me a coordinate point with only the x value and not the y. Don't do that to me. So we're not going to do that to the calculator, all right? Here's how to get this started. To write that regression question. Step 1 is we got to put this data in our calculator. Before we can even do that, we probably got to do our calculator hygiene. So calculator hygiene time, people. All right, second plus 7, 1, 2. That clears all the memory from our calculators. Again, that's the second button, blue second button. The plus button, which says mem in blue. 7, 1, 2. All right, we're resetting all RAM. That clears your calculator to the factory default position. Then we're going to turn on the stat plot. Remember how to do stat plot? Visualize it in your mind. Think about it. Do it fast. Go ahead. Right? That's the second button, and you see stat plot in blue above y equals. Click on that y equals button. That'll get us into the stat plots menu. And then to turn on plot 1, we're just going to press enter, 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 enter. Just turns that on. Once again, I'm showing it again. Second, stat plot, or y equals enter, enter. All right, that turns on your stat plot. And eventually we're going to get to correlation coefficient today, so we need to remember how to turn that on as well. To turn on correlation coefficient, remember, we need to turn on stat diagnostics. Go ahead and visualize how you think you would go ahead and turn on stat diagnostics. If you can do it, just go ahead and do it. Remember, we're going to first press that mode button, the mode button. We get this menu here, and we're going to go up to get to the stat diagnostics menu, up once, twice, 3 times. Go over to the right, highlight on, and click enter. And now your stat diagnostics are on. You can press clear to get out of this menu. Also, to get out of menus, you can press second, and you see it says quit in blue. Second quit gets you out of menus too. All right, raise those hands and participants. Raise them high when you are done with your calculator hygiene. Let me know when your calculator hygiene is done. Great. If you need to see anything again, let me know in the chat. Hey, show me how to turn on the correlation. All right, great. We're all set. Wonderful. All right, we're going to put the data in our calculator. Remember, we do not want to put in the 2 with a missing data point. Our calculator will not like us for that. Stat button. Stat button brings me to this menu. I want to edit a list. I'm going to press enter. All right, I'm going to put in all my data except for the 2. 0, 1, skipping the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right? Because what we're doing is we're associating these x values with some y values. If we were to put a 2 in there and then have no y value, the calculator would be like, what are you doing to me here? I can't do that. I can't associate a number with nothing. You got to give me a number. So we got to skip the 2 if we don't have a number to put in there. We're going to solve for whatever the y value is when x is 2. That's what we're going to solve for. We're going to use this data to run a regression. So after 1 month, there's 1,708 views. After 3 months, 7,124 views. After 4 months, 14,684 views. Go ahead, put this data in your calculator and raise those hands when you got all the data in there. A lot of you are getting faster than me at this. That's good. That's a sign this is becoming an automatic procedural memory thing for you at this point. Great. I got one person who's got it done. I think I got 2 others that are right behind. Give me an indication, participants, when you got the data in. If you already got your data in, you can go ahead and run that regression. Don't have to wait for us. If you got this, go ahead and do it. Just waiting for 2 more people to let me know they got the data in there. Great. Thank you, Wilson. Ezekiel, how's it going on getting the data in there? Wilson, if you want to run the regression, you can go ahead. All right, Ezekiel's got it. Great. Okay, so I want to run a regression. How am I going to do that? My first step is going to be I want to see the shape of this data. I do want to see the shape. That's me. So I'm going to go to Zoom Stat first. I'll press the Zoom button. Go down to Zoom Stat. I want to see what pattern pops up. See, this is why I like to do the Zoom Stat first, right? Because this tells me if I had just gone and assumed this was going to be linear or something, I might have done the wrong regression. I might have done a regression that'd be a very bad fit for my data. But I am seeing a pattern developing here where it's kind of like, oh, there's a little curviness going on here. Linear is not an appropriate model. Anybody want to let me know in the chat what model they think is appropriate? This should be old hat by now. I think this would be an easy question. Easy participation question. Wonderful. Yes, one person's got it. Anybody else brave enough to hit me up in the chat? Tell me what kind of function they see here. What function would fit this scatter plot. I got this stat plot I've got here. It's not linear. It's either exponential, quadratic, or something else. Well. If it was quadratic, I would see a U shape, either a smiley face U or an upside down U. So I would be leaning in this case towards exponential. That little curve leans me towards exponential. So I have to run an exponential regression here. That's the appropriate regression. So to do that, to get that regression, I'm going to press the stat button. I'm going to go over to the calc menu. I got to press the right arrow key to get over to calc. And then they hide exponential regression all the way down towards the bottom. EXP REG. That stands for exponential regression. All right. Enter like 5 times, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, okay, 6 times. And here we goes. Here it goes. That's the output. I want you to write in a regression on your slide. I want you to be able to take a calculator output like this and be able to write an equation. It'd be best if you got this to come up on your calculator, but if not, then you can still use mine. This is important to be able to look at this kind of calculator output and be able to put this into the form of an equation on a page. I'm going to lower the hands. Oh, I had some people raise their hands. Yeah, raise your hands once you got the equation. Raise your hand once you got the equation. Sorry for those of you who may have just raised your hand a second ago. I just lowered them thinking I had hands still up from the last question. Once you got an equation, raise the hands. Thank you, Ezekiel. Thank you, Wilson. All right, so good. So hopefully I'm seeing y equals, right? I see a times b caret x. Now, this caret symbol, remember that's the shift 6 button on my calculator. That means raise this b to the power of x, right? B to the power of x. That's what that's saying. That little caret says, make that x go up there. Another way of doing this, y equals a. I can use parentheses to apply multiplication instead. And remember, control period. Control period will do this funny thing in Google Slides, Google Docs. It'll give you what's called a superscript. And now I can put my X up at the top there. So whichever one of these you like, that's fine. I just want you to know that you can do it either way. And you can also use Control P to bring it back down to normal script. So Control period for superscript, Control period for normal script, back to normal script. Okay. Now that I've got why did I write that down? That's because that's what the calculator is telling me right here. A times b raised to the power of x. And it tells me what a is, and it tells me what b is. I'm rounding both of these to the nearest hundredth, so I got to put in the values for this. A is going to be 836.47 rounded to the nearest hundredth. 836.47. Right? And then b is equal to 2.05, right? The 4 is in the hundredths place. I'm looking at the 7 is the thousands place. The 7 is 5 or greater, which tells me I got to round my 4 up to a 5. 2.04, 2.05. The b is equal to 2.05 raised to the x power. And now we have a regression equation. Two different looks to it. But now this regression equation we can use to make predictions. We can use once we have a regression equation, we can start to make predictions. This is going to be an interpolation kind of question. We're going to interpolate for 2. As shown in the table, Joey forgot to record the number of views after the second month. Use the equation that we've got to estimate the number of full views, remember full, which means round to the nearest view, of online video that Joey forgot to record. So I'm lowering the hands. Once you think you've got a response for what was the y doing when x was equal to 2. When x was 2 months after first viewing, what does our model predict? Oh, I got one person already? All right, great. What does our model predict the views after 2 months? Tajanique, if you want to go to the next slide, by all means. Waiting for some hands to get raised to let me know that you're ready. You've got an answer for what the Y value is after 2 months since viewing. So you've built an equation, now you're using the equation to make a prediction. Interpolation. All right, got 2 people, good. To give you a little, if you're stuck, to give you a little hint, right? We are looking for when x is 2. What is y when x is 2? That's a way to look at this. So we change our x's to 2, and we want to know what is the y doing when our x values are 2, and then solve for that. Figure out what y is when the x value is 2. It's just a throw it in the calculator type of thing. 836.47 times 2.05 raised to the power of 2 raised to the power of 2 gives me 3,515, rounding to the nearest view. That's it, 3,515. All right, so 3,515, round to the nearest view. That little squiggly out in front says approximately. It says I've rounded this. Oop, not 35.5. There we go. Whoa. There we go. 3,515. Another way to do this, and this is kind of the way I like to, especially when the numbers are round. I press the second, and I go to the table, and I would just look for, I would put the equation in first to make that work, right? Oftentimes when I get a regression equation, I like to throw it in y equals into my calculator. And that can often help me out, and you got to make sure you type it in correctly. If you don't type it in correctly, your calculator won't give you the output you're looking for. 2.05, there we go. Raised to the power, caret x. And then if I go to my table, when x is 2, look at that. I got the 3,515 rounding down just to the nearest, 3,515. All right. All right. I'm bringing the hands back down. That's kind of how we do this, right? Entering the data in our calculator, running the regression, using the regression to make a prediction. That's the name of the game. Slide number 5. Slide number 5. Some of you have already started it. Emma recently purchased a new car. All right. Emma decided to keep track of how many gallons of gas she used on 5 of her business trips. The results are shown in the table below. I've got miles driven over here. I've got number of gallons of gas used. So to give a few examples, 150 miles. She drove for 150 miles. She used 7 gallons of gasoline. Whoa, she made a huge trip, 1,000 miles, used 51 gallons of gasoline. Go ahead and put this, I'll stop sharing. Go ahead and put this in your calculator. And then run that regression. I'm going to lower the hands. Once you've got a regression for slide 5, don't forget to look at that stat plot, though. Don't forget to look at the model first to see what's going on. All right. I am going to share my screen once again. Share my screen once again. And just give you like so. Oh, so I have my data in my calculator. And so I have it there. And now I want to take a look at it. I want to take a look at what is the data doing. Oop, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to go into stat plot. I actually have to undo something I just did. Oop, I forgot about that. Don't worry, yours is probably still list 2. All right. I'm going to zoom stat. Oop, clear. Zoom stat. Zoom 9 will give me zoom stat. I see the dots, right? I see these things. And I'm looking at this. I'm like, I don't know whether I should use, maybe this looks pretty linear, but it could be an exponential that looks kind of straight. How would I test this? All right, I could test this with a residual plot. So if I wanted to know if it for sure was linear, I have to run a linear regression, go into the linreg. Once I run a linear regression once, it'll store the residuals, and then I can run, ooh, that's a 0.99. That's a pretty good correlation coefficient. Let me look at a quick residual plot, right? Stat plots. I went second stat plot, turn it on. I made my Y list to be residual. Second, see how list is in blue? Second stat for list. I'm going to change that to the residual. And then I can do zoom stat again to get a residual plot to see is a pattern develop or not. I'm looking at that like, okay, good. I don't see a pattern. Although I don't know, I would have to. I don't see a pattern, but I'm wondering here. It looks like there could be a U if I had more data, but I'm thinking this might be pretty decent as a linear. So I think we're pretty good there. Does everyone have? Let me go look at participants again. Does anyone raise their hand for? No one has an equation yet. Okay, one person's got the equation. All you got to do to get the equation, put the data in your calculator, right? Go to stat, calc, and once you know what the appropriate regression is, right? Once you've looked at that scatter plot to see if it's linear or not, we'll go with linear for now. Calculate. All right, running a linear regression off the stat calc menu. Hopefully this is old hat by now. It's going to be something. Y equals A times X plus B. The calculator gives us what A is and what B is. Right? We need to be able to build equations using the output of our calculator in the regressions. A is 0.05. Around the nearest hundredths, yes. So I'm looking at the 5 is in the hundredths place. The 1 is in the thousandths place. That 1 in the thousandths place tells me to keep my 5 the same. All right, and my B, rounding the nearest hundredths place. I look at the thousands. The thousands is a 9. That tells me I got to round my hundredths place up 1. So negative 0.92. Negative 0.92 is my B value. Woof. That is the linear regression, rounded to the nearest hundredth. We now could make predictions all over this thing, right? We could figure out, like, if she drives 300 miles, we could figure out how many gallons of gas she used. If she was driving 750 miles, we could find out how many gallons that would cost, or how many gallons that would be. We could use this equation to find all that kind of thing out. All right, I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to lower those hands. Go ahead and hit up slide 6. Go ahead and try slide 6. If you're struggling with slide 6, you'll need to hit me up in the chat. We'll have to create like a little breakout room or something, because I would like you guys to be able to do a lot of these independently here. So if you're struggling, hit me up in the chat. Don't know what to do, hit me up. But otherwise, yeah, go ahead, hit slide 5 up and slide, 5 and 6. All right, Tajanique, if you got the regression for slide 6, go ahead and hit up slide 7. If you got 7 complete, you can wish me a happy Monday. My expectation would be that slide 6 would be pretty straightforward, but slide 7, that residual plot, I think some of you got it. Some of you might still be, we might still be a little bit shaky on how to get the residual plots in our calculators.